Because this is a $1,200 product, very small relative to traditional futures, but we think a good size for the everyday trader. And it's got an overnight margin from the exchange of $204. Already a great price. I was talking about this on the live stream. To get $1,200 worth of MJ or Tilray or Cron or CGC, any of the popular Hexo, all of them, it's going to cost you $600 or $1,200 for that $1,200 of exposure. Here it only costs you $204. What about my day traders out there, Pete?
Hey, your day traders out there, again, 204 is your overnight margin. You're, depending on the firm you're trading, your day trading margin is, I want to say, $48. And I'm going to take another quick peek at my my platform here. So, you know what? A lot of firms offer day trading margin on futures, which are 1/4 of the overnight cost. So you're looking at a product, depending on the firm you're at, that you're scalping for $48 of buy power required. Now, doesn't mean it's safer. Doesn't mean it is this. When I say it's the same margin model is used for everything. What it is more appropriate for us. You know, you look at note futures, and then I think the margin now is about $1,800. You think, well, that's a lot less than the bond futures, which is $4,000. Sure, but there's still very big products that have a lot of movement to them. So same margin model, same capital efficiency here, but at a day trade, I could turn this around back and forth and trade pot stocks back and forth for $50 in capital on my account to look to scalp back and forth. All of a sudden, that number around $30 a daily movement and the market itself, all of a sudden they'll start to feel proportional. And I think a lot of us, the hardest time we have with futures is the disproportionality of them, that parts of them are way too big or are too small. When I say, you know, you can always argue margin's never too small, but it's a disproportionate sense of feeling that margin keeps me safe, and it doesn't. So we need to have proportionally sized products that afford us the opportunity to make sense. And I think you make a great point there, because that amount of money I'd need to trade Tilray or to trade Cron, when I think about trying to day trade with that money, what am I left with? I'm not left with a lot.
Well, so, and a little bit of housekeeping here. I don't want to be the jerk who studied mathematics, but I did study mathematics at the prestigious University of Michigan. 25% or a quarter of the margin here is not $48, Pete. It's $51. Though I do love you, and I like you.
Again, you know, I will bring this up just to double check here.
Well, I'm just saying, if the initial margin is 204 and day trading margin is 25%, that, my friend, is $51. But either way, it's a low amount. No, we don't need to look it up. Don't worry.
I'm looking it up because I'm agitated.
Pot stocks are usually more volatile than the general stock market. And this is where we found a really nice design for S420, Pete, because you have in the white line there in small cannabis futures a lot more back and forth, a lot different price action than a stock market that got absolutely annihilated as the pandemic started to hit news wires and make waves across the globe in the early part of 2020. And since then, save for a couple of fearful moments this market has just marched higher and higher and higher. Pot stocks, you see some of that similar action. And this is an idea that we've covered a lot of times, Pete, that like when stocks pick up to the downside, they all tend to act like just, like stereotypical stocks. And so I'm not surprised to see the stock market at large takes a dive and pot stocks take a dive. But what's really intriguing is that once we break out of that stock market crash mode of early 2020, you have a very different looking market. You have a market that went all the way down to $6, skyrocketed to almost $20, 100% move, and then move back lower to middle there at around $10 or $11 or $12 where we sit currently. It's different movement. It's more volatile than the stock market. And we sized that greater volatility, Pete, at a smaller size. I think this is a great design by you and a few others here at the Small Exchange. It's just a really nice combination of different. These are just stocks. This is a stock product, an equity index, just like your S&Ps and everything else. But it's so different, Pete. It's so much more volatile, so much more movement, so much more opportunity to it at a smaller bite.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you want is, you know what, you need, and again, that's what I think we're really doing. And you know what, we're learning and getting better and better at this as we go along, is building the appropriate size. We can all argue what's appropriate, but there is a certain sweet spot of notional and given leverage within the futures world and daily movement and volatility that give you something that's cost effective to trade, which means that if I've got, like we talk about Eurodollar futures, and I'm going a little further afield, they move a tick and a half a day. Now that's 30, what is that, Frankie? $37.50, whatever it is. So it moves 1.5 ticks a day. I don't know anybody on the face of the earth who can scalp that market, and it trades millions of contracts. It's not a scalp, so you've got to find the right size product, gives you enough movement. While that movement is not so overwhelming, then it breaks your mechanics and your management because it's so uncomfortable. And I think this is a great, you have a wonderful gift. You really do have a wonderful gift for really getting succinct in showing us that diversification between the general market, and you pick the right one with the small 75, and the opportunity around day trading S420 as a diversified yet complementary pair to my trading strategies.
Also, just to do further house cleaning and to flex my muscles,
it was 51.24 was the margin on day trading, so you were wrong. It wasn't
51.24. I told you 51. Well, you said 48, 51 right. There.
Right,
and I'll one up you once again. Eurodollar ticks. I'm almost.
So go ahead. Do some more house cleaning, Mr. 96 cents.
I'm almost positive that the minimum tick in Eurodollars is a half penny. I'm pretty sure a penny is $25. And thus, your half penny is, Pete?
I'm not talking to you anymore.
12.62 half, I think. 12.62. Does that sound right? 12.62.
No, 25. It would be $12.50 for Eurodollars.
Yep. You're right. 12.5. Sorry. Dang it. Can you believe that? Two different instances.
Yeah, you went to Michigan. I believe all this. I am convinced.
Approximate
I am
knowledge.
Convinced right now, if you showed your feet, you would have your shoes and socks off because you're using them to count.
Don't make me. That's right, baby.
Those are some of the best. Those are some of the best looking 4.5 size feet I've ever seen.
That's a size 10. Okay, don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Also, look at that. That's socks and shorts. And it's a very cool
size
look.
10.
And you see me around the west side of Chicago.
Yeah, isn't that like a Frodo 10? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Lord of the Rings. What are those little guys called?
I don't know.
God, I just watched.
It wasn't elfin, was it?
No, they weren't elves. They were hobbits. It's a Hobbit 10. There you go.
The Hobbit 10.
I like that. Let's get back into it here, because we do have kind of a hobbit of a stock market here, only moving about 35 cents on a daily basis. S420 is less than a fifth SM75. If you thought that we brought down the size of equity index futures to a more manageable price with SM75, about $8,000, S420 is coming in at about a fifth or a sixth even of that size here. But what's really nice is it moves almost half as much. That's that, larger volatility, smaller size, kind of counteracting to still give you an active market. And I was talking about this on the live stream, Pete. We have really, really debunked this whole former futures trader thing where it's like, oh, if I'm scalping, I got to be scalping something that moves thousands of dollars, I feel like that was a lot of people would scoff at markets, even as, places like the CME and other exchanges started to roll out, E-minis or smaller products. And they'd be like, oh, that thing doesn't move enough. I need to trade a big thing. I need to trade something that's moving a lot. You have a market here that moves 30, 40 cents. Each of those is a 1 penny increment. So 30 to 40 different units on either side. So now you got maybe 80 different levels, each of them $1. The fees, Pete, here in 2021 at the small exchange in particular, so low that you could quite literally scalp.
There's a lot to turn. Right. There's
10,
a lot of
$10 or $20, yep. Pete, you could scalp for 10 or 20 bucks against that day trading margin, and you're returning 10, 20, 30% on those intraday scalps of just, a few bucks. And those fees are all in at most brokerages, us and brokerage and OCC, all these different fees are all in around 50 cents or even less at some places, really manageable to day trade and scalp, even in a market that on an outlier day moves about $100.
Right. And you know what? I think your point, and this is something you've kind of it's certainly not invented, and I don't say that in a bad way, but you've brought it to light in trading, this idea about unique price points and how important the right amount of unique price points are to find a day tradable product. And that's also a function of the number of price points and what each of those price points are worth, the tick value. But here you're making a very good case that 70 to 80 unique price points on either side of that is certainly not meaning that I've got to buy within a tick of the low, sell within a tick of the high, and there's nothing to do in between. There is, on a market that is giving back and forth, this sets up for a lot of different scalpable opportunities. And I love the idea, and you said this, and I saw so many guys try to do this in the SPOO pit, scalp for 20, the minimum tick at that time was $25. And they were like, I'm going to try to turn everything for one tick, a one tick winner or loser. And the problem with that is that no one can turn something for one tick and be profitable on it. You have to have more elasticity in the amount of movement you have. But if you can't afford to take those losses and those fees are highs, it doesn't make any sense. Here you can turn $10, a nine tick move, a $10 tick move. You can turn a $10 move, which is 1/8 of that 80 tick move we talked about, and still walk away with 9 out of those $10. That creates opportunity. And it really is something you need to think about when you start looking to size up opportunities, especially around more active trading.
And it's interesting because you brought up Eurodollars, which is a total left field thing to bring up when we're talking about.
I know. I said something.
But what's great about having brought that up is that Eurodollars are kind of a smaller market in terms of its daily activity. Most of those products per contract move, $20, $30, $50 on a daily basis. But each of those ticks is worth, like I said earlier, $12.50. So on a product there that moves similar to small cannabis, where it's moving, $25, $50, but that's only 4 ticks, you can't trade that. Here, $25, $50 is 25 to 50 whole ticks, a bunch of different prices to get in and out at, and with the low fees and everything, definitely worth your while to even scalp here. This is a great example just from a couple of weeks ago. Big move lower in small cannabis, looking at what the index did on June 8th, you see a huge move lower, a fall all down to these new lows, a big bounce back. And I have right there where the 1 standard deviation of 35 cents lower would have been on this day. And to me, Pete, this is a really nice product, especially for new day traders or someone looking for, a smaller way to trade volatile stocks like this. You have a market that sold off about 50 cents or $50 per contract and then bounced back about 25 to 30 cents or 25, $30, depending on where you got in there. Could scalp $20, $30 per contract on this. And that's like the day trading margin you talked about, $51. That's almost 100% return on that scalp. The fees less than 50 cents, eating barely any of that. The small cannabis futures, a very unique and also sustainable way to day trade stocks.
Absolutely. And this was a good walkthrough because we hit on all those important points about the appropriate amount of unique price points, the cost of the transactions, the tick size, and what's reasonable to work around trying to get, to get within and out of. And I think those were all, this really was a great way to walk through a product like this. So you would think, well, it's really tiny. How can I trade it actively? I understand I can inventory it, kind of park it away. And that's kind of a cool thing. I can't inventory a lot of futures for a long period of time. So that's a great extra benefit. But this was a great walkthrough. Kudos to you, my friend.
Yep. Always fun here on the Small Stakes Show. We'll be back tomorrow with Jamal Chandler talking about trading pot stocks. That's all we're doing this week.
Just a PSA, we do have some cool stuff coming out for our S420.
Do we?
uh, um, promotion.
Oh.
But Frank did show you both feet. Now, if you guys look carefully,
Yep.
one of his feet has 6 toes. Now, the first guy who emails me and lets me know whether or not which foot has the 6 toes will win a bonus piece of swag.
See, now that's a funny joke and all, and like, oh, Pete got me with the 6-toe joke, or like I grew up near like a nuclear plant or something like that. Guess what, pal? You just got a bunch of emails in your inbox, so joke's on you.
I love emails I love emails from our viewers.
God dang it. Don't turn this around on me and now I'm a jerk. I'm always a jerk, everybody. Join us tomorrow where I will be just as big a jerk as always. We'll be talking about pot stocks and everything else. Pete, thanks so much for joining me. We're having a blast trading S420. Get out there and try it. And also, yeah, if you do get out there and try it and you are a subscriber, we are going to be giving away so much fun stuff here. The ideas keep flowing in from all the small exchange departments. We're starting out with some fun t-shirts. We'll get on to maybe some different paraphernalia after that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, go to subscribers.thesmallexchange.com. Join the community. You're already getting reduced fees, exclusive content, and giveaways around all of our products. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you in Splash in the Futures coming up next.